December 1938. 22 different titles on the newsstands this month with this cover date. This is one less than the month before. And this month again begins with a mystery. Little Giant Detective Funnies number 3 from Centaur Publications should have come out this month, but no copy has been verified to exist of issues 2 or 3, making it seem likely that copies were never distributed or sold. What's odd is that if the series continued monthly, then issue 4 would have come out the next month, and in fact, that is what happened. So there is only a number 1 and a number 4 issue of this series. Jumbo Comics number 4, December 1938, from Fiction House Comics. The second comic book work by Lou Fine following his debut last month in Jumbo Comics number 3. Overstreet Price Guide calls this issue scarce, and Gerber rates it an 8 or rare. There's also artwork from Will Eisner, Dick Briefer, Bob Kane, and many more. This is a black and white comic, oversized. Parts of the issue are reprinted from Wags, the UK edition from Editor's Press Service. Issues 32, 38, 62, 64, 72, 82, and 83, dating from 1937 and 38. The cover art is possibly by Jerry Iger and features stereotyping of African Americans. There's Thanksgiving and turkey cover. Jerry Iger gives us the 2-page strip Bobby, reprinted from Wags from 1937. Inspector Dayton is a 2-page strip, possibly written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias George Thatcher, featuring the Inspector Dayton and the villain Colonel Case, reprinted possibly from Wags 64 and 65. Hawks of the Seas is a 4-page story written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Willis Renzi, featuring the origin of the Hawk, and the Hawk's ex-fiancée Madeline appears. This is reprinted from Wags, the UK edition, issue 71. Uncle Otto is a short story written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Carl Heck, a humor story from the Universal Phoenix Syndicate. Peter Pup is a 4-page story written and drawn by Bob Kane, featuring Peter Pup, Buddha the Genie, and the first appearance of the villain Zula. This is reprinted from Wags, the UK edition from Editor's Press Service number 36 from November 1937. Heroes of Sport is a 1-page strip drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Irwin. This is a non-fiction sports strip from 1937 Universal Phoenix Syndicate. Count of Monte Cristo is a 4-page story drawn by Lou Fine under the alias Jack Cortez, featuring the characters Edmond Dantes and Napoleon Bonaparte, reprinted from Wags, the UK edition, number 76. Peewee is a short story written and drawn by Jerry Iger, a humor child story from Universal Phoenix Features dated 1937. Sheena makes her 4th appearance in American Comics in a 3-page story drawn by Mort Meskin, reprinted from Wags UK edition, issue number 69. Just Laughs is a short cartoon written and drawn by Bob Kane, using the name Robert Kane, in a humor strip from Universal Phoenix Features. Uncle Otto appears in a short comic story written and drawn by Will Eisner as Carl Heck. The Hunchback of Notre Dame is a 4-page story drawn by Dick Briefer. This adventure drama strip comes from Wags, the UK edition, number 31. ZX5 Spies in Action is 3 pages, possibly written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Major Thorpe. And this reprints from Wags UK number 63. Diary of Dr. Hayward is a 2-page story drawn by Lou Fine under the alias Kurt Davis. And this is reprinted possibly from Wags number 76 and 77. Wilton of the West is a 4-page story drawn by Lou Fine under the alias Fred Sandy. This is a Western frontier strip from Universal Phoenix Features. And Lou Fine, born November 26, 1914, lived until July 24, 1971, an American comic book artist. In 1938, Lou Fine, like many other comic artists at the time, found work at Eisner and Iger, one of the prominent packagers that supplied complete comic books to publishers. Fine's first published comics art was in Jumbo Comics. Fine went on to do acclaimed work for Fox Feature Syndicate, where he supplied the cover of Blue Beetle number 1 in 1939, and such features as The Flame in Wonderland Comics, and later the eponymous series. For publisher Everett M. Busy Arnold's Quality Comics, he drew features including The Black Condor in Crack Comics, Doll Man in Feature Comics, The Ray in Smash Comics, Uncle Sam in National Comics, and Stormy Foster in Hit Comics. Fine also worked as a ghost artist on Will Eisner's The Spirit. Joe Simon, an artist and the first editor of Marvel Comics, called Lou Fine his favorite artist. He was also Jack Kirby's favorite artist. And Jack was a fan and greatly influenced by Lou Fine's work. Amazing Mystery Funnies number 3 or number 4. December 1938, published by Centaur Publications. For a second month in a row, the issue was numbered 3, so some call this 3B, and for reference, we're going to call it number 4. The cover art is by Bill Everett. The majority of the comic strips in this issue are reprinted from previous comics published by Centaur. Dirk the Demon is featured on the cover, drawn by Bill Everett. And Dirk the Demon only appears on the cover, but there is no strip inside the issue. Skyrocket Steel is a 4-page strip drawn by Bill Everett in this early science fiction tale featuring Skyrocket, Steel Dodge, Sari Marston, and the villain Vance Roy. Dave Dean is a 6-page story written by Norman Daniels with art by Fred Gardenier featuring the first appearances of the characters Dave Dean and Shorty, and this is reprinted from Funny Pages, Volume 2, Number 1 from 1937. Action Comics number 7, December 1938, published by DC Comics. One of the 10 most valuable comics of all time, and the second most valuable Superman-related comic ever. Superman appears on the comic book cover for just the second time ever. After number 1 and number 7, Superman's next cover appearance was number 10. The cover art is by the character's creator Joe Shuster, and it's worth noting that Superman's S has changed since issue number 1. The version seen here is closer to the final look of the symbol, and our hero is wearing his familiar boots, not the ankle-high shoes he sported on number 1. Also, Action Comics number 7 is the first comic book cover ever to show the word Superman. It's also the second superhero cover of any comic, tying with Detective Comics number 22, featuring the first cover of the Crimson Avenger. And this is the first cover to show Superman as we know him today, airborne. The on-sale date of this issue was October 25th, 1938. The Superman strip contained is 13 pages and features the 7th appearance ever of Superman. The story created by the team of Siegel and Schuster with lettering by Paul Loretta. In this early superhero comic, which features the characters Superman, Clark Kent, Lois Lane, Curly, an unnamed George Taylor, Jordan, the villain Derek Niles, and Trigger. The Jordan Circus is having a rough go of it, and the promissory notes are coming due. So Superman decides to join the circus to help it pay off those notes and get it back into the black. Superman wears yellow boots, and the S symbol is all yellow. Clark Kent gets bullied at the Daily Star, and Lois Lane is not impressed. Later at the circus, Superman is able to crush a gun with his bare hands. Superman gets a job as the new strongman at the circus, and an ad is placed in the newspaper about Superman. Superman lifts an elephant during his circus show, and Superman dangerously hurls a man high up into the sky and catches him 3 times in an effort to scare him. And bullets bounce off Superman's chest in this story. Other highlights of Action Comics number 7 include Pep Morgan, a 4-page story written by Gardner Fox with art by Fred Gardenier under the alias Gene Baxter. There is an ad in this issue for the Siegel and Schuster School of Humor on the Coyote Canyon Bill strip page by Fred Schwab. The Diddle Family is a 2-page story written and drawn by Paul Gustafson. Tex Thompson is lengthy 10-page strip with art by Bernard Bailey. Now You Know is a 1-page strip drawn by Sheldon Moldoff. Scoop Scanlon, 5-star reporter, is 6 pages drawn by Will Eli. Zaytera Master Magician is a lengthy 12-page strip written and drawn by creator Fred Gardenier in this adventure tale featuring the characters Zaytera and Tong. And this is Zaytera's 7th appearance in comics. West Thrills is a short strip drawn by Terry Gilkison. And this is a non-fiction Western frontier strip featuring the characters Buffalo Bill, John Slaughter, and Wild Bill Hillcock, with some facts about these Western heroes. Crackerjack Funnies, number 7, December 1938, published by Dell Comics. The on-sale date of this issue was November 10th, 1938. Don Winslow and Dan Dunn are featured on the cover. There is a mile-high pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection, and there is a Dell Comics file copy surviving. Dan Dunn appears in a 5-page strip drawn by Norman Marsh. Captain Frank Hawk's Air Ace is a 4-page strip drawn by Al McWilliams. Tom Mix is 4 pages drawn by Al Lewin. And Don Winslow is a 4-page story drawn by Leon Baroth and possibly written by Lieutenant Frank Martinek. Super Comics number 8, December 1938, published by Dell Comics. Chester Gould had begun his Dick Tracy strip in 1931, and he had first appeared in comics in 1936, and he would stay in this title and settle here until 9 years later, finally getting his own book. The on-sale date of this issue was November 18th, 1938. There's a mile-high pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. Dick Tracy is featured on the cover. There is a promo ad for Red Rider. The Dick Tracy comic strip is 4 pages, written and drawn by Chester Gould. Terry and the Pirates appears in 5 pages, drawn by Milt Caniff. And Little Orphan Annie appears in 4 pages, from artist Harold Gray. Comics on Parade number 9, December 1938, published by United Features Syndicate. There's a mile-high pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. Little Abner is featured on the cover, drawn by Al Cap. And Little Abner and Mammy Yoakum are the 2 characters featured. Inside, there is a 6-page Little Abner strip written and drawn by Al Cap and includes a gun ad with Little Abner. Tarzan appears in a 5-page story, The Return of Tarzan, written by Edgar Rice Burroughs. And Alice in Wonderland appears in a 2-page strip written by Olive Ray Scott with art by Ed Kookies. Keen Detective Funnies number 11, December 1938, published by Centaur Publications. The on-sale date of this issue was October 27th, 1938. Most of the comic strips in this issue were reprinted from previous comics published by Centaur. There is a Billy Wright pedigree copy of this issue. The cover art is by Martin Filchock. Funny Pages, Volume 2, number 12, December 1938, published by Centaur Publications. The on-sale date of this issue was November 3rd, 1938. There is a Lamont Larson pedigree copy of this issue. Skid Davis is a 4-page story drawn by Al McWilliams. The superhero The Arrow returns in a 6-page strip written and drawn by Paul Gustafson in this early superhero comic, which would later be reprinted in Phantoman number 2, also from Centaur in 1940. Wild Horse is a 2-page strip drawn by Paul Gustafson, reprinted from Funny Picture Stories number 1 from 1936. Feature Funnies number 15, December 1938, published by Quality Comics. Joe Palooka and Nobby are featured on the cover, drawn by Ed Cronin in this sports cover. Gallant Knight appears in a 4-page strip written and drawn by Vernon Henkel in this historical strip from the Eisner Iger shop and is possibly reprinted from Wags UK. Archie O'Toole is a 2-page story written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Bud Thomas. This humor child story features Archie going to America to seek out a loan for his country, Pyromania. This is produced by the Eisner Iger shop. The Clock appears in a 5-page story written and drawn by George Brenner, another early superhero strip featuring the Clock, alias Brian O'Brien, and the villain Tony Malta is featured in this story. It's produced by the Eisner Iger shop and possibly reprinted from Wags UK magazine. Lollapalooza appears in 4 pages written and drawn by Rube Goldberg in the humor strip reprinted from the Frank J. Markey Syndicate. Espionage, starring Black X, is a 4-page story written and drawn by Will Eisner under the alias Will Irwin and features the villain Count Rock. And this is produced from the Eisner Iger shop. The Barbarian is a 2-page text story written by Robert Hyatt with illustrations by Edward Cronin, and this is the first appearance of Konar the Barbarian. Star Comics number 16, December 1938, published by Centaur Publications. The Phantom Rider begins in this issue, and highlights include Carl Burgos and Paul Gustafson art. My Lawnmower You Borrowed Last Summer is the cover feature drawn by Terry Gilkison. The Phantom Rider has its first appearance in a 6-page story written and drawn by A.L. Peterson in this Western Frontier strip. Picture Queries is a one-page activity page drawn by Terry Gilkison and features Franklin D. Roosevelt, Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands, and the Titanic. It's All in Fun is a one-page cartoon written and drawn by Paul Gustafson. Fade Away Far is 6 pages from artist Jack Binder in a Western frontier tale. Speed Silvers is 6 pages from writer-artist Paul Gustafson. Officers Blue and Gold is an interesting 2-page humor story, possibly written and drawn by Basil Wolverton, but not confirmed. Last Pirate is a 5-page strip written and drawn by Carl Burgos in this adventure strip. Feature book number 20, The Phantom, December 1938, published by David McKay Publications. This is the first solo Phantom comic ever published in the United States, and some consider this to be The Phantom number 1. The Phantom also appears this same month in Ace Comics number 21. With a 10-cent price tag, this book featured a hefty 76 pages, color cover, but black and white interior, and was still oversized with the large dimensions of 9 by 12 inches. The Phantom is featured on the cover, drawn by Ray Moore, and features the Phantom and Diana. There are 71 pages worth of Phantom comic strips in this issue, written by Lee Falk, with art by Ray Moore, and the Phantom newspaper comic strip reprints from 1936. Ace Comics number 21, December 1938, published by David McKay Publications. The Cats and Jammer Kids are featured on the cover, drawn by Joe Musial. Jungle Jim appears in a 4-page story drawn by Alex Raymond. Blondie appears in 4 pages from writer-artist Chick Young, and The Phantom appears again this month in a 4-page story written by Lee Falk with art by Ray Moore. The Phantom appears also in his own solo feature in feature book number 20 this month. Detective Comics number 22, December 1938, published by DC Comics. This is just the second superhero cover in the history of comics. It's tied for that honor with Action Comics number 7, with, of course, only Action Comics number 1 with Superman coming earlier. This is the only cover appearance of this series featuring the Crimson Avenger. Jim Chambers is the cover artist for this book. The on-sale date of this issue was November 7th, 1938. There is a Billy Wright pedigree copy of this issue. The Crimson Avenger appears on this cover, which also features stereotyping of Chinese men and machine guns. Slam Bradley appears in a lengthy 13-page strip from the team of Siegel and Schuster in their detective mystery featuring the villain Fu Manchu, who dies in this issue, and the first appearance of Yat Sin. And this is a famous opium story. Larry Steele is written and drawn by Will Eli in a 6-page detective mystery featuring the villains, the Maniacs, and the story is in black and white. The Crimson Avenger strip in this issue is 6 pages, written and drawn by Jim Chambers in this early superhero strip featuring the villain, Sergeant Haynes, and the first appearance of Mr. Gates. A Sticky Clue is a 2-page text story written by Gardner Fox under the alias Paul Dean. Break-In at the Bartillian Embassy is a unique 5-page story written and drawn by the team of Siegel and Schuster in this spy adventure story featuring the first appearances of Morgan and Nichova. Dr. Fu Manchu is a 4-page story written by Sax Rohmer with art by Leo O'Mealia in this adventure strip reprinted adaptation from the insidious Dr. Fu Manchu by Sax Rohmer. Oscar the Gumshoe is a 1-page strip written and drawn by Bob Kane. Speed Saunders appears in 6 pages, written by Gardner Fox with art by Fred Gardenier. The Funnies, number 27, December 1938, published by Dell Comics. Our Boarding House with Major Hoople is featured on the cover. 4 Aces is a 2-page strip written and drawn by Hal Forrest in this aviation adventure strip reprinted from the 4 Aces Sundays at the Bell Syndicate. Scribbly is a 3-page story from writer-artist Sheldon Mayer. The Crime Busters is 4 pages drawn by Alden McWilliams. The Wonderland of Oz is 2 pages from writer-artist Walt Spouse in the supernatural story based on The Wizard of Oz, featuring the characters Tip, Jack Pumpkinhead, Wooden Sawhorse, Scarecrow, Tin Woodsman, and Winkies. The Last Stand is a 6-page strip written by Norton S. Parker and Harry Hoyt, with art possibly by Richard Rogers in this Western Frontier adapted from the Universal Motion Picture. Tip Top Comics, number 32, December 1938, published by United Features Syndicate. This is Jack Davis's first published work in comic books. There's a Mile High pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection, and there's a Davis Crippen D-copy pedigree copy of this book. Tarzan is featured on the cover, drawn by Paul Berdanier. And Tarzan appears in a 5-page strip with art by Hal Foster, reprinted from newspaper strips. Little Abner appears in 4 pages, written and drawn by Al Cap, reprinted from newspaper strips. Tip Top Cartoon Club is a 3-page text article with a contest page for readers. One of the cartoonist readers was Jack Davis of Atlanta, Georgia. Jack Davis, Jr., born December 2nd, 1924, lived until July 27th, 2016, an American cartoonist and illustrator known for his advertising art, magazine covers, film posters, record album art, and numerous comic book stories, and he was one of the founding cartoonists for Mad Magazine in 1952. King Comics, number 33, December 1938, published by David McKay Publications. Popeye and Henry bump into each other on a rainy day for this cover image. Drawn by Joe Musial. There is a Mile High pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection, and there is a Lost Valley pedigree copy of this book. Thimble Theater is featured in 4 pages, drawn possibly by Bella Zaboli using the alias E.C. Cigar, who had passed away recently. This humor book is reprinted from the Thimble Theater Sundays at the King Features, dated February to March 1938. Flash Gordon appears in a 4-page story drawn by Alex Raymond, reprinted from the Flash Gordon Sundays at King Features, dated February to March 1938. King of the Royal Mountain is 4-page strip, written by Zane Grey with art by Charles Flanders. Sport Features is a 1-page text story drawn by Jack Burnley, featuring the character Max Schmeling. Brick Bradford is a 4-page early science fiction strip, written by William Ritt with art by Clarence Gray, reprinted from the Brick Bradford Sundays at King Features, dated February to March 1938. Mandrake the Magician is a 4-page story written by Lee Falk with art by Phil Davis, reprinted from the Mandrake Sundays at King Features, dated February to March 1938. Radio Patrol is a 4-page story written by Eddie Sullivan with art by Charlie Schmidt, reprinted from the Radio Patrol Sundays at King Features, dated February to March 1938. Adventure Comics number 33, December 1938, published by DC Comics. This is the 2nd issue of this title that would run for 45 years. Craig Flessel provided the cover art of a man grabbing strut of an airplane. There's a Mile High pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection. Anchors Away is a 6-page strip written and drawn by Fred Gardenier. Salty Sam is written and drawn by Fred Schwab with the alias Stockton, and features the first and only appearance of Salty Sam. Federal Men is a 4-page strip from the team of Siegel and Schuster in their detective mystery, which features the villain Biff Davis. Dale Daring is a 4-page strip written and drawn by Will Eli. Now You Know is a 1-page cartoon drawn by Sheldon Moldoff, and Moldoff also draws Nevertheless It's True, a 1-page strip. Professor Doolittle is a 2-page story written and drawn by Bob Kane. Cinema Dust is a 1-page cartoon drawn by Sheldon Moldoff. Rusty and His Pals, 4 pages written and drawn by Bob Kane in this adventure strip featuring the villain, the Duchess. Billy the Kid is a 1-page story written and drawn by Whitney Ellsworth, a humor child story featuring the first and only appearance of Billy the Kid. Popular Comics, number 35, December 1938, published by Dell Comics. Toonerville Folks is featured on the cover, drawn by Fontaine Fox. Tad of the Tanbark is a 2-page story written by Bob Moore with art by Carl Pfeiffer. Tailspin Tommy is 4 pages written and drawn by Hal Forrest. And the science fiction strip Don Dixon and the Hidden Empire appears in 2 pages. More Fun Comics, number 38, December 1938, published by DC Comics, had an on-sale date of November 1st, 1938. There's a Mile High pedigree copy of this book from the Edgar Church collection, and a Billy Wright pedigree copy. The cover art is by Craig Flessel, featuring a kid hunter stalked by bears. Radio Squad is a 6-page strip from the team of Siegel and Schuster, featuring the characters Sandy Keene and Larry Trent. Johnny Law appears in 4 pages, drawn by Will Eli. Now You Know is a short cartoon written and drawn by Sheldon Moldoff. Ginger Snap is 2 pages from writer-artist Bob Kane. Buccaneer is 5 pages from writer-artist Bernard Bailey. Mickey Mouse Magazine number 39, December 1938. This is volume 4, number 3, published by Western Publishing Company. Ferdinand the Bull is featured on the cover and in the main feature story. Famous Funnies number 53, December 1938, published by Eastern Color. This is the longest-running comic book up to this time. Features a Christmas cover with art by Victor Pazmino. Buck Rogers appears in a 3-page story written by Philip Francis Nolan with art by Rick Yeager under the alias Dick Calkins, and Jerry Iger under the alias Bob Bliss gives us the 1-page strip Queenie.